Hello everyone. Blender 2.8 beta just came out a few days ago and the UI actually changed a little bit, but it's not too much. And this video, although it is recorded on an older version, but I think it's still relevant for quite some time. So anyway, for this video we will first warm up by sculpting a simple apple, and then we will step up the game and sculpt a pumpkin. Okay, so let's begin. For the apple, let's start with a box. And go to the modifier tab and add a subdivision surface and subdivide the box 5 times so that we have a sphere. And now apply the modifier. Now we have a lot of geometry to work on, so it is time to start sculpting. First, I switch to the grab brush and change the curve to a pointy curve and then lower the strength. Now, I want to bring down the top of the apple as well as the bottom up a little bit. So I decided to turn on the axis so that I have an indication of where to click. And then I hold down Alt and drag the top as well as the bottom inward a little bit. Alright, now it is time to start sculpting. So I switch to the clay strip brush and start sculpting. Now after I have a slight indication of where the details should be, I switched to the crease brush and start cutting the creases like so. And at this point I think the shape of the apple is incorrect, so I switched to the grab brush and tweak the basic shape of the apple a little bit. And I make sure to rotate a lot and see the apple from many different views so that I have a correct idea of what the shape looks like. Alright, and right now I hold down Shift to smooth out the surface of the apple. And now I switch to the sculpt draw brush and then sculpt some more features for the apple. It is time to cut the creases on the bottom of the apple. So I switch to the crease brush and start cutting. I'm going to speed up the video now because from this point on it's pretty much the same technique, just switch back and forth between the different brushes and try to get the shape right. Alright, so the body for the apple is pretty much done. So it is time to make the stem for the apple. Okay, so place the cursor on top of the apple and then Shift A to add a cylinder and set the vertices to 8. Now hit tab to go to edit mode and then scale down the cylinder until we have the thickness of the stem for the apple, and then select the top face and extrude it until we have a nice little curve. Alright, something like so. Alright, so the apple is now complete, and let's move it aside and move on to make the pumpkin, which is the real topic of this tutorial. Hit Shift A, and this time around we will add a sphere and leave all the settings as default. Hit Tab to go to edit mode and then select everything and move up by 1 unit. Now the sphere is sitting on the ground plane. Alright, now I scale down the sphere a little bit and then hit Ctrl A to apply the scale. Now we're not going to add the subdivision surface modifier because we will use the dynamic topology feature, so it will cut the mesh for us during the sculpting. Okay, so go to the sculpting UI and turn on the dynamic topology mode. Okay, and let's start with 12 pixels kind of detail. And again, like the apple, we bring the top down and the bottom up using the grab brush. Alright, like so. Now I switch to the crease brush and start cutting the creases of the pumpkin. Now that I have an indication of where the details should be, it is time to switch to the clay strip brush and start sculpting the bolts of the pumpkin. Now there are better ways to make a pumpkin, however this is a sculpting practice, so we will simply use the brute force kind of way. Okay, so let's just use the basic tools to sculpt the pumpkin. Now I switch to the grab brush and adjust the shape a little bit more. Go to the top view and use the very large grab brush and break away the perfect circular shape to make it a little bit irregular, because in nature nothing is perfectly circle, right? Okay, so let's continue sculpting the detail using the clay strip brush. This process involves a lot of repetitive sculpting, so I'm going to speed up the video now. Alright, so the body of the pumpkin is done. It is time to move on to make the stem, and like the apple, we create a cylinder, but this time let's set it to 32. Hit tab to go to edit mode and then scale the cylinder down until we have a proper thickness of the stem. And similar to the teapot tutorial, we simply add loop cuts and then scale the loops, and that's about it. Now the basic shape of the stem is already there. Let's go back to the sculpt mode and again turn on the dynamic topology for the stem, and then we will sculpt the details for the stem. Alright, so at this point the pumpkin is pretty much done and I saved the file. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy it. In the next video we will sculpt something even cooler, and that is a monster out of the apple. Okay, I'll see you next time.